This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. In news from Parliament, Minister of Transport Renwood Wells says penalties will increase for road death offences. In his presentation to amend the Road Traffic Act, which he says is an update to the Road Traffic Act, Mr. Wells says the new amendment also changes road death offences to vehicular manslaughter by reckless driving.
The term of up to 15 years for recklessness is imposed essentially for an individual who will have driven in a manner having a willful and wanton disregard for the safety of others and not having any regard to road traffic conditions and speeds. Those are set out, Mr. Speaker, in sections 2 and 1. Sections 2, subsection 1, and section 2A and B. Mr. Speaker, clause 3 of this bill also introduces a new definition of vehicular manslaughter by dangerous driving into the principal Road Traffic Act.
The law once called for a fine of not less than $5,000 and not more than $10,000, or imprisonment of not less than 4 years for dangerous driving. But Mr. Wells spoke to the new changes.
But now, Mr. Speaker, with the new definition of the offense of vehicular manslaughter by dangerous driving, the new offense, Mr. Speaker, will carry a more enhanced and robust penalty of up to 10 years of imprisonment. Essentially, Mr. Speaker, vehicular homicide by dangerous driving will be levied on an individual who is found to be driving far below what can be expected of a competent driver when it would be obvious that the manner of driving was dangerous. Under subsection 3, this principle applies if the vehicle itself is obviously in a dangerous condition. That is, with only one headlight working, or the driver's vision is obscured or limited by broken windshield wipers or defective windshields while he or she is driving.
The Transport Minister says his government has also introduced a new offense called vehicular manslaughter by careless driving while under the influence of drugs or alcohol. This carries imprisonment of up to 10 years. Mr. Wells added that these and other new changes will help to reduce the numbers of deaths on the streets due to reckless driving and drive home the message that life is important. Minister of National Security Marvin Dames throwing his support behind the amendments to the Road Traffic Act. He said it acts as a framework to safeguard the streets of the Bahamas. He adds that the acquisition of 5 new laser cams and pro-laser force-speed detector devices will help eliminate serious and fatal crashes. In his contribution, he said last year, the Bahamas saw 57 traffic fatalities, resulting in the death of 21 drivers, 17 pedestrians, 10 passengers, and 9 motorcycle riders. He adds that most victims were between the ages of 26 and 35 years. Mr. Dames adds that most fatalities occurred on Sundays and Saturdays. Mr. Dames also says increase in speeding and driving while under the influence of drugs and alcohol and inadequate post-crash care are the main factors that cause death among young people. He adds that new legislation will help save more lives. In news from the crime beat, several shooting incidents last night leaves 2 adult males in hospital nursing injuries and police on the hunt for the alleged shooters. The incidents occurring around the same time but in different locations, according to police reports. In the first incident, police says it was shortly before 11 p.m. A male was standing near a vehicle in the parking lot of a business establishment in the area of Wolf Road off Mackey Street when he was approached by a male armed with a firearm who shot him. The injured male was transported to hospital by paramedics where he is listed in stable condition. In the second incident, shortly after 11 p.m., a group of persons were standing in a yard on Davis Street, Fox Hill, when they were approached by an armed man who opened fire on them. A male was injured and transported to hospital where he too is listed in stable condition. Meantime, police also on the hunt for suspects responsible for an armed robbery yesterday. Shortly after 12 noon, a female was in the parking lot of a business establishment on Wolf Road west of Claridge Road when she was approached by an armed man who robbed her of a deposit bag containing checks before fleeing in a yellow Toyota Passo, license plate AM0179. Police believe with your assistance, they can identify and locate the persons responsible for the shootings and the armed robbery, and are appealing to members of the public who may have any information to contact the Central Detective Unit, Crime Stoppers, or the nearest police station. Investigations into all of these matters are ongoing. 2 adult males and an adult female are now in the hands of the police after they were found in possession of an illegal firearm yesterday. Central Detective Unit officers making the arrest after executing a search warrant in a home on Finlayson Street, Baintown, shortly after 12 p.m. yesterday. The officers recovered a 9mm pistol with 7 live rounds of ammunition. The trio is expected to be charged before the courts in relation to this find. Our final story is up next.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.